Domo domo, what is up everybody? This is official Jujutsu Kaisen translator Steady, always at the ready. So we finally got some action this week for Jujutsu Kaisen chapter 94. Last few chapters have been kind of more on the build-up, kind of explaining chapters, the calm before the storm, if you will, but definitely things are starting to get moving. So grab your seat, grab your Shonen Jump app, and hope you got a little drink with you, because we are entering Jujutsu Kaisen Manga Lounge chapter 94. Here we go. I am joined this week by special grade curses, Mashito. We don't know this guy's name yet. The Sea Curse of the Sea. We have Hanami and Jogo, Rip Hanami. But this shirt, if you're kind of curious what's going on with this, definitely check out my merch unboxing video. I'll have it linked as well if you want to check that out, but it's in my channel. Got a lot of cool Jujutsu Kaisen merch that you probably haven't seen before, so check that out. Definitely feel free. This is a manga lounge, discussion lounge, so if you have your predictions, and I thank you to all of those that do make comments every week, and keep at it, because it's been really cool to talk back and forth with you guys. So just a little outline to see what we're going to be talking about today, and then we'll go into depth on each one. But first, we're going to be talking about the curtains and how they function, kind of the new revelations about them a little bit. We're going to be talking about kind of the, again, Akutami's fantastic use of actual geographic locations in Japan and Shibuya specifically right now. We're going to be talking about also Ino and the reveal on what his curse technique is, or at least a little bit of a allusion to what it might be. And then we're also going to be talking about the new curse users, the little enemies that Itadori and Fushiguro and Ino have found themselves fighting up against. So let us first talk about the curtain. So the curtains are kind of there's a lot of things that are unknown about it right now. Obviously, we know that the main function is supposed to be, it's a barrier technique, but it's meant to basically surround an area so civilians basically don't know what's going on within that area when the jutsu sorcerers are doing their thing. So it's really meant just kind of as a, I don't know, I almost want to describe it like the Men in Black kind of like zapper, like so people don't know what's going on kind of thing. But obviously with how we've seen it used and how the fake Geto has used it, there's a lot of different functions, and there's a lot of different sort of give and takes kind of conditions that you can add on, saying like no jutsu sorcerers allowed to go in, no civilians allowed to go in, or vice versa, the way out. So it's very interesting, and it seems as though the curtains, it's something that it's basically, it's a technique. So there's some people that can use it to a greater scale, more strength and things like that. But we see Ino as well as the Kuro and Itadori talking about that it seems as though it very much, like I mentioned before, curtains are very much kind of a give and take. You sacrifice some things in order to gain some things, and in this case, since the people who summoned the curtain have exposed themselves, that the trade-off is that the curtain itself is very strong. So it's kind of an interesting point to see. So perhaps if you were to think about it the other way, if you were to apparently keep yourself inside the curtain and kind of keep yourself hidden from danger, the curtain itself might not be as strong. But since they deployed it the other way around, they leave themselves wide open, but the curtain itself, they're not inside and they're wide open. So it's kind of an interesting way to see the curtain be used, and especially the one, how they have the curtain A, B, and C, but this one specifically, so it's a very, very strong. We see Itadori kind of just going at it. And then so kind of going off of that, we see the three talking about like, okay, so if they're really exposed in somewhere really obvious, where is it? And then boom, Shibuya S Tower. So this tower is actually based on a real life tower in Shibuya called Cerulean Tower, which, if you're also a Pokemon fan, perhaps maybe kind of thinking about it, maybe Cerulean City had something to do with, inspired by, you know, Cerulean has that really high tower, so maybe that has something to do with it actually. But Cerulean Tower, they call it S Tower, which I think might be an Akutami Sensei kind of a, I don't want to say mistake, but they thought that it's spelled Cerulean with an S, because it's clearly based on that tower. It basically is that tower. Should be Shibuya Sea Tower, technically, I suppose, but not a big deal. Maybe we'll see an Akutami Sensei author comment on that later on. So, boom, they, and then we see that awesome shot from the top, Awasaka, the guy with the big eyes, kind of looking down on this, on Shibuya City. Such a cool little scene. You can almost feel kind of like the wind just like howling and things like that, right? But they're like, okay, so we should be pretty good up here because, you know, there's a lot of transfigured humans downstairs and they can't get up here that quickly. And then boom, we see Nue come up. So cool. I love these little kind of, you know, you think one thing's going to happen, but Akutami Sensei is just not shy to just say, you know, heck with that, and just kind of change the game, change the rules a little bit, right? So we see them come in, Ino riding Nue, and then so Fushiguro is downstairs on the ground level, and they got the wire, Itadori. We see that little panel where Maki is kind of like, hey, you should try using this. Maki presents. But then the little revelation here about the little pegs. Remember in the against Coal Guy at Harajuku Station, the Grasshopper guy, he was using the same little pegs as well. So it seems as though kind of that perhaps these things are just almost like, you know, anyone can use a curtain thing, so you just put it in, and then as long as you know how to channel cursed energy, you're able to throw up a curtain, which is kind of really changes the game a little bit, because, you know, they've kind of alluded to the fact that not everyone can use curtains and stuff, but as long as you have these, and it seems that the sorcerers aren't aware of this, so this is clearly a item that is kind of taboo. I don't know if taboo is the right word, but not something that the sorcerers are aware of, and it's kind of like a, oh, what the hell is this? This isn't good, kind of connotation to it. And they're using 3. So perhaps you can actually equally use the curtain among 3, and all 3 have to be broken, or they use 3 in order to make it that much stronger, which I think that might be the case, because the curtain itself is so powerful. So that's probably what the explanation is. And then we see Awasaka. If you look closely, he has the other 2 in his hand, and it's kind of a little bit hard to see, but on page 10 here in the first panel, when Ino's kind of looking at it, I think that's actually Itadori brought it back from Harajuku, right? Because he's looking at it and he's like, okay, so this is what this thing are. But then in the next panel, we kind of flash forward back into the present day, and then Awasaka has the other 2. There's the 3rd one in the ground, and Ino breaks that one, but there's still 2 left. So you have to keep that in mind. Their objective is to break all 3. Not necessarily to kill these curse users, although that's one of their objectives now anyways. And then we see this awesome scene, Itadori just doing his best SWAT team act right there. And then he just tells Fushiguro to let go Nue. So we have Awasaka falling as Itadori's going through the window, and Nue's up in the sky, right? But the problem here is that, well, before we get into that, next we have little Ino. We thought, you know, I had my suspicions, but we had the little hat. There's a kind of like, we thought it would, maybe it's just fashion, but it seems like it has something to do with his curse technique. He's got this, like, this panel right here is just so cool. It's almost kind of like, you know, like when they throw, what do you call it, those, you know what I'm talking about, those bags, sacks on their head, and almost kind of like the chainsaw guy from Resident Evil 4, if you're a fan of that. So I don't know, maybe it's something really like a really terrifying power, just kind of by the aesthetic, or maybe it's something else. Who knows? But Itadori makes his way on down the down the tower. It looks like he took care of a lot of transfigured. Remember, they're in there, so he's just like, he's next level right now. Fushiguro's down there like, hey, I didn't see that guy land. There's something going on with him. A body falls from that high. It's bound to be a mess. But Fushiguro's very smart, and he's like, there's something going on here. And sure enough, you know, in the original Japanese, they said tanuki. He called him here it says, you sneaky old bastard, but it's actually, he said tanuki, which I wanted to leave in there, but anyways. So we see Fushiguro saying, hey, you better get up, man. We know you're not fooling anyone. And then he's like, we see the old man, Awasaka, get up. He's like, whatever. He's doing his macho thing. Look at him. He's like built like a freaking bowling ball. But I just love this aesthetic too, with the hair and the beard and this mustachio, and just such a cool, and even the aesthetic, it very much does look like a tanuki, kind of the way that his face is formed, and even the eyes, kind of the beady eyes. And tanukis in Japanese mythology are very famous for kind of their shape shifting and kind of trickery. So definitely look out for this character to be on that kind of front. You know, he's kind of perhaps a shapeshifter, very kind of trickery in his techniques and stuff. If he still did fall from that high though too, so there's a good possibility that he's got some sort of like invulnerability, whether that has something to do with his kind of shape-shifting power, if he does have something like that. Can't wait to see. And then, you know, this last panel here, it's so cool because it's for the first time, if I'm not mistaken, we see Itadori and Fushiguro fighting side by side. It's just so cool. If you're a fan of this series, you know, they've always kind of been in the same place at the same time, kind of in a battle and this and that, but we've never seen them pair up like this, fighting, you know, together against an enemy. So can't wait to see what next week holds as far as this fight goes, or you never know, it might switch off to something else and then come back to this later, but only time will tell. But yes, I have my special grade curses here saying thank you for watching another video. Definitely do, if you have any questions that I might be able to answer, or if you have any predictions or things that you'd like cleared up, feel free to let me know in the comments. And definitely I've been seeing some awesome theories in the comments, and let me know what you're thinking about the series so far. We're approaching chapter 100 very soon here in a few weeks. I've got some special things lined up for that, so be sure to check that out. But yeah, that's pretty much it this week. Hopefully we'll get some more action next week, and I think we will. And with that, you know how we do. Mata yoroshiku!